Welcome to the Let's Ruin It podcast, where we take your favorite pop culture media, put a legal spin on it, and like all lawyers, we ruin it. I'm one of your hosts, Diana, and I'm here with my lovely co-hosts. Introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Jenny.
And I am Liz.
And we are very excited, or I'm very excited, at least two of us are very excited, to ruin this particular movie. It's a classic. It is probably the greatest movie of our generation.
I will concur.
Thank
I will
you.
stand by it.
Thank you.
Their generation.
10 toes down.
Yes, thank
I'm
you
in.
so much. It's Clueless.
I'm in.
The best movie, 1995.
I don't know about the best.
I
but
mean, it's
Best movie of 1995 for sure.
the cultural
Okay.
impact. The cultural impact alone. I mean, it is the most impactful film of my upbringing, of my
youth,
life.
yeah.
Shaped who I am today.
do you guys see the excitement
Okay.
emanating off of
She's
her?
so
Because I
giddy.
can feel it.
I couldn't even like start recording because I was too excited.
Did you spend your childhood just like watching it on repeat? Was that
Yes.
just
I also remember seeing it in the theater.
I did not.
And very exciting. It was a day where I saw a double feature.
Oh, so you saw it twice.
No, I went to the theater and I saw Clueless, and then it was like, the 90s where there were no laws about this, so you could just go to another theater and see another movie right
yeah.
after,
I did
right?
that.
And I went to see
No,
9
I'm pretty
months.
sure. 9 months?
9 months, that movie, like
Oh,
Hugh
I'm thinking
Grant.
of something else.
Hugh Grant and like Julianne Moore.
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
And it's also a good movie.
I'm thinking of the one that was highly inappropriate, but also something with 9. I can't think of it.
Oh,
It's
no,
fine.
it was 9 or 9.5 weeks.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
9 months is
I know what you mean.
feel-good
Kim Basinger,
comedy
right?
Yeah.
with
Kim
Jeff
Basinger.
Goldblum,
Yeah.
so...
No. She means the hot, steamy one with Kim
Yes,
Basinger.
that's the one.
She's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm talking about 21 grams. Okay. No, it was a great movie day, but Clueless is the one that really shaped, I think, at least a generation
I
of
agree.
girls that I grew up with and boys.
I agree. I think it was very iconic. I think it was really for the millennial generation, kind of like a defining movie. And I think it was meant to be that way. And it
think
was
so.
meant to be a commentary on society. And it was also a remake, sort of a very loose remake of Jane Austen's Emma.
Yep.
I actually did not know that until I was Googling for this movie.
Yeah.
And I saw that.
Oh,
and-
really?
Yeah. I had no idea that it was intended to
Yeah.
be that. I'm not going to lie. I struggled with this movie.
Really? Wait, did you see it back when it came out?
You know what? I probably did, but I feel like we're gonna do this again.
Let's
like
do
we
it
did
again.
with
Let's just do
like
it.
we did with Jurassic Park. Like
You were
had
old.
just graduated college. Okay, so I was probably 23 when I saw it.
So I think you were probably
I was at the
you were
older
past
end
it.
of this. It did
Yeah.
not impress me.
Okay.
like.
I guess at 23, you don't want to watch really a teen
Teenagers.
movie. Like
Not
a movie about
really. Like it
teenagers.
didn't compel me. Like I've seen it a couple times, and there's funny parts of it, but it's not a defining movie.
No, it
for
didn't
me.
shape who you are today?
It did not.
Okay.
It did not. And I think I told you guys before, like, I struggled even with, like, the vocabulary and understanding everything that was
Were
being
you like
said.
Were you like Googling?
No, I was
what
not.
is as
No.
if?
Oh, yeah.
No.
What's
I
a
know
Betty?
what the stuff is,
Remember
but
Betty?
I know what a Betty is.
Or a
but,
Baldwin.
but
Hold
it
on.
took me a minute to process the comments.
So-
That's all, because it was not part of my language.
So in real life, if I were to say to Diana on any given day that something is a full-on Monet, she would 150% understand what I'm talking about.
would not.
Of course, because from far away, it looks fine, but when you get up close, it's just a mess.
Big old mess.
Big old mess.
When she explained it, I got it.
But it all makes sense. I think that we grew up with all those iconic quotes to such an extent that they're all so ingrained.
I mean, we say them to this day. Like, to this day, and my husband's aware of them,
Please
too.
tell me what you still say. I can't wait.
I will say to
hello,
people,
look at my shirt.
It's
Yeah.
an Alaya and a whata.
That was me, by the way. I was
did.
the
You
robber.
said,
a
"A
what?
what?"
Like, I had
Totally important
no
designer.
idea what you guys are talking about.
I mean, I will say, because you're a virgin who can't drive, like to people, and assume
wow.
they'll understand.
Hold on, I have regularly
and that
sent,
is way harsh, Diana.
I will
way harsh.
I
I'll
have
say that-
regularly
yeah.
sent the way harsh time
Yes.
meme or
Th-
Jiffy
that is true.
to the group
and
chat.
I'm gonna say, actually, I use that as well because
See?
that phrase has become
I think it's in like the
iconic.
lexicon. Like
it
it's,
is.
yes.
It is. So I've used that as well.
I'll say it to my
Yes.
husband.
Yeah.
I'll be like, "That was way harsh, Ty," and he knows what I'm
yeah.
referencing.
No,
I've-
I've done that too.
My
Yeah.
child knows the meaning of the word sporadically.
Okay.
I hope not sporadically. Yes.
I taught it to her, taught her to use it in a sentence.
I feel like you would have done that anyway.
Sure, but she's probably I'm not sure that a 9-year-old would generally know sporadically. I don't know.
Right.
Probably not.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Otherwise, yeah, you learn.
Although
we
your
learned a
kid,
lot.
maybe. I don't know.
We learned a lot from that movie.
I think so.
I mean, I was 11 when it came out, and I probably was like, oh, that's what sporadically
Right?
means, right? Because we didn't have access to
Highly
vocabulary
educational.
like kids do now.
So wait, you were like
We were like 11, 12.
Like, yeah, we were like in fifth grade.
Preteens.
We were preteens.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it was so monumental is because we
Probably.
weren't even teenagers, so it was like
Right.
aspirational for us. you
yes,
know?
yes.
Yeah.
It was like I want to be like her.
I assumed that that's what I would be like as a
everyone-
teenager, and then I was. And then I continued to be
Did you
that.
have the closet? Everyone wanted Cher's
Oh,
closet.
I want that closet so badly. To
I
this
still
day.
want the
I have to
closet.
say, I chuckled a lot
With
with
the
computer-
ancient computer,
But the computer program, why don't
It
we
was-
have that?
It was
I
very
don't- I
DOS
thought
based.
this-
Though.
Why don't we
like,
have that? Why can't I just like have
super
all of my clothing,
pixelated, like-
all of my clothing in like some sort of file, and I can like
Yeah.
put it all together, and then the thing spins around. Like, why don't we have that technology?
You know,
I don't know. I was
know?
thinking the same
I don't
thing.
know.
I don't know.
I haven't checked, but I assume.
Someone tell us, are we missing it?
Are we missing it? Like, are other people doing this?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like it's possible.
I don't know. Well, guys.
Okay. Anyway, so
let's do what we came here to do.
Ruin it with the
ruin
And be
law.
it.
clueless.
Yeah. And ruin it.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff in
A
here
lot.
that on rewatch you're like
More than I thought.
Yeah.
We actually-
because I'm like, what else is there other than like everybody talks about Josh and Cher's like age,
which
gap.
isn't even like the legal part of it because we don't know
Right.
the exact age gap, right? Like,
Well,
we don't know how
here's
old
the
they
thing.
He's a
are.
They
freshman
said
in
she's
college.
about she's
Yeah.
16, right? Or she's
No,
about
no,
to be.
about to
because
turn.
her birthday's in April.
But I feel like
She's
during-
older and
She's
wiser.
older than Ty,
she's about to be 16, right?
and I assume he's 18.
he's a freshman, I guess, in college, right?
Yeah,
it was his
he's a
first year.
freshman.
So he's either 18 or 19, depending on when his birthday falls.
Right.
It's not the worst.
It's not the worst, but like I guess because they're like step siblings, it was like
that was actually what creeped me out more.
we talked about
But
this with like
the-
Cruel
that they're
Intentions too.
siblings,
But-
kind of.
well,
But they're ex step.
they're ex
And they're not blood
siblings.
related.
They're not blood related. And then Cher mentions that Mel, her dad, was married to Josh's mom for like a hot minute.
Like a
By the
split
way,
second.
can I just Mel?
Dan-
That's the character I love the most.
I love Dan
You related
Hedaya.
to him.
Dan Hedaya is hilarious.
So
I
good.
love him.
He was, by the way, in First Wives Club.
Oh
that
my
we
god,
did.
Yes.
I
A
love
while
him so
ago.
much.
And Baby's Day Out. We should do Baby's Day.
He's so
We should do
funny.
Baby's Day Out. It's a classic.
So
movie.
funny. He's my favorite character, and I'm like in an entire movie of like.
He's so good.
Cher,
young
get in
teens-
here.
Right. He's my favorite. I'm like, and I'm sitting there watching it yesterday. I go, I'm old. Like,
Yeah.
I like him.
I like for everything. It's Cher, get in here. Yes, daddy.
yes, Daddy. Oh, Daddy, you can't eat that. Like, it
And
was
she like pulls a lemon
Actually-
out
Oh,
from
yeah, yeah, that was
out the
so
window.
so cute. So cute.
There's a lot of things.
By the way, fellow lawyer.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Of course.
There's you know what? First of all, there is a lot of law in this movie.
well,
Yep.
he's a litigator.
He's a
which is the
litigator.
scariest kind, she says.
Yes.
Yes, it
She's
is.
not wrong. She's not wrong.
She's not wrong.
No.
So there's a lot of law stuff in here, but just going back to Cher and Josh for a second, the age of consent in California is 18, the Googles have told me. So again, we are not California attorneys, but I think that's the very obvious issue. The step-brother thing isn't, maybe could be like a little icky, maybe it gives you the ick a little bit.
little ick.
But it's Paul Rudd, so nobody
Also,
got
Paul
the
Rudd,
ick.
Like no one's icked by Paul Rudd. But
Not
also,
then,
Still
not
not.
now.
Also,
Exactly.
you have to just assume that it is a very innocent relationship until she turns 18. And
But
the
no.
Dad,
age of consent.
Dad
like,
did not seem bothered by it either.
No.
No, he wasn't bothered by it.
When he sees Josh's reaction to Cher
He,
going
like-
out on a date,
he
he
smiles.
smiled about it. Like
Yeah.
he's pretty happy, even though she's young
Yeah.
and he's very
And
protective.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Gonna be a
Supermodel.
supermodel. Sorry.
Yeah,
we
and so
digressed.
the
Okay.
person who was bothered by it was the other associate working on that case. He was like,
Yes.
maybe if you guys weren't playing
Playing
footsies.
footsies.
Yeah.
We're just gonna quote the movie the
You
whole
know, the
time.
whole time is just us doing the whole movie. Yeah, that I don't know.
But
Peter's
hold on,
illegal.
You walked away with the impression that the relationship stays innocent until she turns 18.
I mean, we see them
Nope.
just kiss once.
Me neither.
Maybe they
Not
are.
at the end.
not
Paul
in the
Rudd
end.
is a respectful person.
Hold on a minute. At the end,
Paul
that
Rudd may be, but I don't think Josh the character is.
that scene where they finally get together at the end when they're sitting on the staircase.
Yes, of course.
And Cher in the voiceover says,
oh, she did.
and Cher in the voiceover says, and you guys can guess what happened next. I have
That's true.
always, from day one, always assumed that what happens next is that she's no longer a virgin who can't drive.
I agree.
Oh, see, I took it to just mean like
Oh, we got together.
no, like
we're
a
dating.
joke because the next scene is the wedding, and she's like,
married.
as if.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
No, I always assumed that that's what happens next. Because the whole
I
movie,
did too.
the whole movie is
Is that she's
about
a
I know.
virgin.
Well, the
this.
whole movie is about anyone being a virgin.
That's
it's
right.
like Dion's virginity went from technical to non-existent,
non-existent,
and
sure.
then Ty obviously is not a virgin because otherwise she wouldn't say you're a virgin, can't drive. So we talk
No,
about
but
vir-
she
Oh,
says
no,
that
no.
it-
She says it at the beginning. That
Yeah.
she, yeah.
right, but like that's what
When
like, the
she's
whole
a
movie.
New Yorker.
But by the way, and we talked about this, I can't remember now which movie we talked about this, how there's like such an emphasis on
Virginity.
of these like 15-year-old
Like
girls.
Cruel Intentions.
Cruel Intentions.
Yes,
It
we
was
talked about
Cruel
that.
Intentions,
That-
yeah.
Yes.
There's like a slew of movies in this era, the 90s, late 90s,
Yeah.
early 2000s, that just centered on whether or not kids were having sex.
Yeah.
And it's kind of creepy because
Kids,
you
they're
think about it,
15
like
years old.
Yeah.
all of these studio execs just sat around being like, let's make sure we get one movie in this year that's about sex with like minors having sex.
Teenagers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Teenage sex. Why? It's weird.
It was
There
like
was a
a
lot
very
of that stuff.
sexualized
Didn't-
vibe.
it started in like
Didn't-
the
didn't, like-
80s had that a lot too.
Oh, of
Didn't
course.
like American Pie come out then?
Yeah.
too, and all
Yes.
those other
In
kind of, like,
99,
really, like,
yes.
yeah.
sex romp teen.
Yes.
I mean,
you
American
know?
Pie is literally just about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we have to do that movie. But every single movie was
Yeah.
that, you know?
Which is a little disturbing when you watch it as an adult. You're like, oh,
And it
this is
continued
just,
on like
it's
for a
just
while.
like a little. You,
Super bad. Like that was
Superbad.
like
Back-
that was in the
funny.
aughts.
But back then, as a kid, you thought it was cool.
Oh,
Right?
yeah, no, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
we didn't think much of it.
Right.
Almost didn't understand.
Yeah.
But again,
we were
almost
like 11,
aspirational.
12.
We were like 11, so I was like, okay,
No,
like
but it
I
wasn't.
just don't want to be a virgin who can't drive, whatever that might mean, you know.
No, but it was every movie in the 90s
Every
was like
movie.
this.
Yeah.
So this wasn't like we weren't thinking
didn't
of it from
stick
that
out. No,
perspective,
yeah.
right? Perspective.
You know what? Baby's Day Out wasn't about that though. So I feel
maybe
like
we
there
should.
were like one
Maybe
or
we
two
should
movies.
discuss
We should
it.
do that one.
Yeah, but I don't know. Is there a shift now with like Hollywood
Yes.
movies like this?
I think that
Do they
it's not
discuss
as
it?
focused on it, and when it is, it's more of like a drama than a comedy. They don't play it for laughs anymore. Now
No.
it's like a show like
Well,
Euphoria. That's
I-
like the dark side
I
of
mean,
like
not to-
teenagers.
not
Well,
to-
Euphoria's on another
I
level,
know.
but
Not to bring the room down, but
Oh,
like
man.
post the Me Too movement.
Sure.
I mean, no one's touching
Sure.
this kind of thing anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like
The
a bomb.
sexualization of
Yeah.
like especially female minors is just like off limits.
yes.
Oh, God,
right,
yeah.
right.
Unless it's for dramatic purposes, like for like, you know, a serious movie or TV show, I think.
Right.
But not for a comedy. Not
So
played for
let's
laughs.
rewind to the beginning of the movie because they start off with a bang and there's all kinds of violations.
Right. Let's talk
at
about the
beginning.
legal violations.
Right at the beginning of the movie.
Take it.
Go.
I mean, she's driving to school in the Jeep that her father bought her without a license.
Without a license.
Right.
Without a license.
But also,
so let's talk about that.
She's also hitting everything along
hitting
the way.
garbage cans,
And-
knocking
yeah.
things over.
Yeah,
like,
property damage left and right.
lots of property damage.
And we looked this up. We looked up like the laws of California. 'cause
We did
we're
our
not
research.
California
We
lawyers,
did,
you know.
we did.
And you can get like an instructional license or something at 15
But you
and a half.
can't drive by yourself.
But you can't. You have to have completed some sort of driving course and have parental consent for that. And then, so that is, I'm going to read it.
And- yeah.
Instruction permit. That's 15 and a half, and you have to have parental
Which
consent.
she is at that point.
Yes, we
I mean,
assume.
let's assume she has parental consent because he
got
buys
her
her
the
the
car.
car.
Yeah.
Right.
And he then later on says, after she gets a ton of tickets, and he says, I didn't. He said, I didn't even realize you can get tickets without a license. And she said, of course you can. And so at that point, he says to her, that's it. You're not allowed to step foot into that Jeep. No cruising around with Dion. So the
So
assumption
until
is
then, she had that.
she had
But-
consent. He knew she was driving
But she
around.
probably
Yeah.
didn't complete an approved driver's educational
Let's
course because
assume
we
she
watched
didn't.
her taking a course
With
or
Josh.
like, well, I guess that was a driving test, but
Yes.
I assume that would be the culmination of a course. That's
Right.
a completion of a course.
Yeah, like one of those like safe driver courses
Sure.
or something like that. That's like, and you could get
It is.
like
It's surprising though.
you
That
could
it's
get
so
a
much
discount.
earlier in
Yeah.
California because like
Yeah.
here you can drive with a permit
16.
with 16 if you have a licensed driver in the car, and then at 17 is the only time that you can actually start driving without a licensed driver in the car.
I wonder if it's because of just, I don't know, the way LA, California is set up.
No, they have all
There's-
those like windy, like, you know, around like the
that's
like the
LA
pa-
you're
the
thinking
Pacific-
of. I don't
hello,
know.
did
There's
you
not a
see,
lot
I
of
mean,
public-
later
the
in the movie
coast?
when they're driving on the freeway, hello.
The freeway, I know.
They are
God.
freaking out.
Yes. Well, should we talk about the freeway?
Let's
or
talk
should we
about the
get to
freeway.
it
Let's
later?
while we're talking about traffic.
Let's
stuff,
do it. Let's
Traffic
do
There's
that.
a
law.
lot.
Let's
Let's talk about
the
traffic
freeway.
law and get that out of the way, and
Yeah.
then move on to.
So she's practicing her driving
Mm-hmm.
with her very experienced boyfriend, Murray.
Murray, who is
Dion.
Yeah,
Dion,
and
Dion
yes,
is.
Dion, yes.
And we're assuming he's what 17, 18 because he's going to college next year.
So he's a senior.
He's a senior.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But for argument's sake, he's going to be 17.
Way, Donald Faison, adorable.
So good. He's keeping it real.
With a full...
He's keeping it real. I'm keeping it real.
Full mouthful of metal. So cute.
Yeah. No, and I love them as a couple. Because she's like,
You did?
Of course. When he shaves his head, she's like,
And
how
she
can
says,
you do this?
I'm going to call your mother.
I'm going to call him, and then he freaks out.
I don't know. I was on the fence about their relationship. It was
their
not a
relationship.
healthy relationship.
I loved
they
it.
were just
Cher didn't think it was a healthy relationship,
they were
right?
bickering back and forth.
I know, but bickering,
constantly.
I don't know.
Well, Cher makes multiple comments about how it's like a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
She did.
Right?
She did.
but what does she know?
True.
Right?
She's a virgin and can't drive.
Yeah, she's
so-
trying to like hook up with like a gay guy. Like she's not.
Oh wow, she
serious.
did not read the room on that one at all.
No.
You or Cher?
Cher
Okay.
Yeah.
did not read the room.
Really into Spartacus. Like, yeah.
Sporadicus.
Sporadicus.
He's
That's
really
right,
into- he's really into Sporadicus.
That was so good.
That was so
This movie is
Wait,
genius.
speaking of her mispronouncing things, do you remember when she was doing the debate? It's one of the beginning scenes where she's doing the debate
About the
first
refugees?
about the refugees, and she
Oh,
says,
the Haitians.
Haitians.
I forgot how she said
so
it. Yeah,
a little fun fact, which the true fans of Clueless will know, is that Alicia Silverstone was actually supposed to pronounce it correctly. She was supposed to say Haitians. She pronounced Haitians,
Incorrectly, yep.
and the director,
They left it in.
The director was like, "That's amazing."
Let's just leave that,
And
right?
left it
she
in.
just like, read it wrong in the script. Like she didn't know how to pronounce it.
She had no
in the
idea
script.
how
Kind of like the way Josh, our producer, leaves my screw ups in when we do
Absolutely.
stuff. Right? Oh, okay, I gotcha. Playing it for laughs.
Right,
I got
exactly.
it.
And she just keeps saying the Haitians.
Haitians. I mean, that's amazing. I love that.
Yes.
I also love
It
Lisa
really
Silverstone a lot.
Goes well with the Clueless. I mean,
She was perfect for this role.
It works.
And, she didn't.
she did well.
Yeah, she did well. I mean, and she also she was like a child star, so she didn't
Yeah.
actually I assume didn't do like all the years of schooling that is required.
She didn't know how to
Right,
pronounce
she
Haitians.
just didn't have the pronunciation of Haitians.
fine.
Haitians. I
But
love
it
that.
worked so much better.
Yeah, it's so smart. I love it. Yeah, so
She seems to be like a younger version of what's her name in Legally Blonde.
Elwood.
Elwoods. They just remind me of
They
each
do.
other.
They're very
They
similar.
really do. It's a very similar
Well,
vibe
Cher
to
walked
me.
so Elle could run.
run.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a
good one. I like it.
That's right.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
And I also still love Alicia Silverstone. I just like her vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I like her on social media. She's Christian Siriano's muse. They're best friends and
Oh,
travel
are
the
they?
world together.
Really?
And I follow their adventures.
I
yes.
did not know that. Okay.
There's a lot of fun people in that movie.
I know.
There are.
Travis is super famous. I can't think of his name in real life, but he's
Breckenmeyer.
Breckenmeyer,
yeah,
of
of
course.
course. I love
yes.
Breckenmeyer.
Oh, I like him a
Super
lot.
famous.
Love him.
Love him.
The teacher that she tries to set up with his guys.
Elton is
Wallace Smith.
Yes,
No,
the
the
Princess
teacher's
Bride.
Wallace Smith,
Yeah, he's
but-
From
great.
The Princess
but
Bride.
Elton is also well known. He
is.
plays things.
Wait,
I can't think of his name right now.
Jeremy Sisko, and
Sisko,
he
right.
is. We just discovered this show, Suburgatory, which
Okay.
ran for a few seasons on
I've heard
ABC,
of it.
and we binged it a year ago for no reason. It's
was
actually
good.
really funny.
I found him.
He is
He's in it?
great in
Oh,
it,
that's
and
awesome.
he's
I love him.
he's got a teenage daughter.
I found him in 6 Feet Under.
But
You guys
Ali-
remember
oh,
that?
yeah.
I watched him in that. I love that one. And then he went to Law and Order. He did that for a
Oh,
while.
I didn't
so
know
I
that.
like him a
And
lot.
he's looking
Yeah.
good, and
Yeah.
also
Oh, he's looking good.
Alicia Silverstone did an episode, she did
Oh,
a
she
story
did?
arc, a few episodes, and there's this one episode where they're just referencing Clueless the whole time.
Oh my god.
It's amazing. You should just see that one episode. She plays his love interest for
that's
a
awesome.
few episodes of this
I
sitcom.
love when people do that.
And I was just dying watching
Okay, that's
this.
cool.
It was really
Yeah,
good.
that's good.
I remember watching this movie thinking that they were all so grown up, and especially Elton, so grown up and this
Oh,
like
yeah.
cool
Because
kid
he
on campus.
carries himself in
Oh yeah, and
Way
then
older than, yeah.
and so I rewatched it for our purposes for the first time probably in years, and I was like, they're such babies. Look at Elton with his baby face. They're babies. Why is how is all of this happening in high school? What's going on?
He still seems older to me, though, in the movie
Than the rest of
than
them.
the rest of them.
Yeah.
yeah,
he did.
and I didn't look up their ages in real life.
No.
but-
Yeah.
Yeah, he did seem a lot older than them. I don't know. I still look at them and think that we're the same age.
Well, and since we're talking about the characters, I mean, there is
Yeah.
some sadness with this movie too, with Brittany Murphy.
Oh,
Of
yes.
course.
You know, and she passed away,
That was-
and she's an integral part of this movie, and that was a whole sad
And she was
situation.
such a talented actress.
She was.
Like she was in
She
a few
was.
other movies that just she really shined. Like she was in that
I-
one with Michael Douglas, like Don't Say a Word.
Oh, yeah.
loved
Amazing.
that movie.
She really in Drop Dead Gorgeous, which was an amazing
Oh, I
movie.
love
yeah,
Drop Dead
that was
Gorgeous.
awesome too.
She's like, to me, stands out like in that
It was-
cast.
what a tragic
Also
story.
in Girl Interrupted.
Oh,
Yes.
amazing
I
as
thought
well.
she was great
and
there too.
Yeah.
She had like a
does-
really promising
she does
future.
Really, really good drama parts.
This movie
too.
actually now
but
makes
as a
me sad.
comedian, she was funny.
Yeah.
She
too.
was so
Like,
good.
She was good in
She
this.
reminded me of a little bit of Marissa Tomei,
Yes,
my cousin
uh-huh.
Vinny,
Me too.
right?
Me
And the
too.
way that she in this role,
Well,
especially.
the New Yorker and with
Yeah.
the curly hair,
Uh-huh.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing. She was
Yeah.
cute. She was so cute. She seemed so much younger than everybody
I
else.
know.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was kind of the point. She comes in as this
doe-eyed, right,
right, and she's eating up everything that Cher is telling her, and they
Which
they
actually I
transform her
didn't
into
get.
the cool girl.
Why did she come in all dull-eyed when she starts off like? You know she's not a virgin. She's had sex. She's 15.
and she immediately
She's-
asks for
and
drugs.
She asks
yeah,
for
she's
drugs.
like, yo,
right?
you guys got coke here?
She goes, no shit, you guys have coke here?
Yeah, right? Like, so she's pretty hardcore already.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so why she came
Because
in all
she's
like,
not,
like
that world. Like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
so foreign to her. She's like New Yorker.
That it actually reminds me of my other very favorite quote from there when the gym teacher says you can hit a few balls in those clothes, and Amber
yeah.
says she could be a farmer in those clothes.
I still love that line.
Every time someone wears plaid, it's what
Or
I tell them.
the other line that's amazing is like, oh, my doctor says that I can't participate in the
did you
activity
guys also-
where balls fly in my face. Like, there goes,
Goes
your
your social life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So good.
That was funny. But there was a part where she's talking about herself when she first meets them, and she says, "Oh, that's cool. I've never had straight friends
Yes.
before."
Oh, yeah.
And I went, and that's why I was like,
Well, the
"Is she
two of-
gay?" Like I was
Well,
like, "What?"
the
I
two
was
of them
so
also looked
confused.
at each other like, okay.
Okay.
Again,
But
keep in
then
mind
she
this
dated
is
boys, so I was
yes.
very confused.
Well, again, this is 1995,
Right.
So the two of them are looking at each other like, huh?
And I did not understand that at all when I was watching.
When you were
'cause,
11,
Yeah, 'cause I
right.
was 11. I didn't understand anything. I didn't
Yeah.
understand the reference to like, you guys got Coke here. I thought she meant
Coca-Cola.
Coke, the drink. And I was like, why is she so surprised that they have soda?
Oh, you're
I don't
so
think I
naive. How
understood at
cute.
the time that they were like,
But they
that
didn't
they were
get it
smoking
either,
some
though.
doobies.
I don't-
No,
Oh,
they
I didn't
didn't.
understand that they were, even when Travis, like, because
Left the bong?
the Pismo Beach
I had no
disaster
idea that
relief.
I had no idea that he was
Yeah.
bringing her a bomb.
When he's like, she's like, I guess we can put it in like kitchenware. He's like,
Yeah.
that's where I kept it. And I was like, I didn't know. I thought that was literally a kitchen item.
I agree with
like
you.
I didn't know what a bong was when I was 11. You know.
You don't know what a
And
bomb
even
is
now.
Even now.
Even now.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, still confused by that part. So anyway,
Wait,
going-
what were we talking about? The driving
knows?
things, right?
Who knows?
The driving.
Yikes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So. Reckless driving, getting
over
on the
the place.
freeway, even like when they start making out in like the shoulder, like when
Yes.
Dion.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They start
yeah.
making out after they almost die. Like you can't just do that.
You can't
like,
just
that's-
stop on the side of the
that's
highway
reckless.
and
That
make
was
out.
funny.
Yeah. So that I had
And
as a
then
note.
driving across 2 lanes, like the entire time, basically. Then she goes to finally get her driving test
Mm-hmm.
and crashes a car
Well, she
during
and
the
doesn't
test.
stop.
She sideswipes a bunch of cars. She like swipes their mirrors off and just like sideswipes
Oh yeah, but one
right
was
across.
literally like,
Yeah, and they don't stop. And I feel like at that point, like that's on the instructor.
100%.
And the fact that like she's like, "Oops, should I leave a note?" And like they just kept driving a little more, and I'm
That
like,
was
"Yes,
messed
you
up.
should. You just literally
Yeah.
hit a car and didn't
Yeah.
leave a note or
Yeah.
anything, or try to contact insurance.
That was a problem.
Or call
Try
the
to
cops."
contact, and then she says, how'd I do? And he's like,
How
well,
did you do?
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So obviously there's a lot of issues
A lot
with
of
the driving.
traffic issues. I mean, there's endangerment and negligence, like
Up the wazoo.
from Dion and from Cher,
Yes.
both of them. Okay,
Yeah.
that for sure. So we had that. Also, I guess if we're talking about dangerous situations, we have to talk about the armed robbery. So Cher,
Oh, it's a straight up crime.
yeah. First of all, she gets like
sexually assaulted.
Sexually harassed and assaulted. I mean, yeah, like he just.
But that goes on throughout this entire movie.
Yes.
It does, and we should talk
Like,
about
right
the
out
fact
of the
that
gate.
that is a theme from the get go, right? Because you see her
I
walking
said
down,
the minute she walked into school at the very beginning of the movie,
And somebody, like,
the
lunges
boy
at her.
goes and grabs her and tries
she's
to
like,
kiss her, and
as
she goes,
if.
as if, yeah,
Right.
like I'm like,
and again played for laughs, but it's like no,
but
he
he
just tries to like
that.
straight up
grabbing
grab her,
and
like
they do that
in high
even
school.
when they played Suck and Blow at the
Oh yeah, God,
party.
can't you suck?
Can't you blow?
Can't you blow?
Can't you
God, I got it
blow?
right earlier. Can't you blow? But yeah, and one might have to argue like he did on purpose. Like,
Of course.
drop
Oh,
he
that.
definitely
And
did.
now is
100%.
that a non-consensual? Like
He
yes.
100% did on purpose.
Sexual misconduct.
Because when he comes onto her in the car, when he's driving her home after the party,
Absolutely.
he said, "You kissed me during the game at the party," and she said, "That was a game, and you literally dropped the piece of paper." And he was like, "No, no, 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 no." He interpreted in his warped mind that she consented to now
Right.
being groped and
right.
whatever.
I mean that it was a non-consensual sexual like assault essentially
It
by,
was
by
assault,
purposely
definitely.
dropping that, but that one is murky, right? Because there's a very strong argument of like this is a game where some people will drop
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
right?
that part, yes, but the
Right.
Jeep.
But then in the Jeep,
car.
that is straight up sexual
Straight
harassment,
up.
sexual assault, misconduct, all of it.
Right. And so she then says, "I'm not driving with you." She gets out of the car.
But then I kind of felt like I was pissed. He left her there.
Of course he did.
Like,
Right.
yes,
but
this is-
what's like the legal issue there? When she's saying, like, when he's like, get back in the car, and she's like, no, leave me alone. Get back in the car. No, leave me alone. And he drives off. I mean, the driving off, I think, like,
Right?
I mean,
He
she
basically, she says, "Leave
she
me alone,"
tells
and he
him-
says, "Okay,
she says,
I'm out.
No, leave me alone.
I'm outie."
I'm outie.
And
Yeah.
he drives off,
I'm
right?
an innie,
And
by
it's
the
like,
way.
where'd you go? Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like, I don't know that there's any,
It's played for laughs.
it's played
Again,
for laughs, but obviously everything leading up to that, the criminal, there's this, there's civil like claims that she can make against him, but him driving off, is there anything?
Well, can we talk about this for a second though? And you did a lot of work in that sort of area
Yeah.
in your previous life.
Yes.
What would he be potentially charged with? And Elton, if anything, because yes, he comes onto her. There's like physical contact, but she tells him to stop, and he stops, right? And he
Not right
doesn't-
away.
No, he doesn't right away. He
She
keeps
says
leaning
it
in.
Keeps leaning in.
She says
right.
it multiple times.
She says it multiple times.
Yeah.
But he then sort of leans back, and
Yeah.
they're like having this conversation where he says, "Well, you consented, yada yada yada." He doesn't force her to stay in the car. She comes out of the car on her own. He doesn't, pull her back into the car. He drives off.
Right.
So what would he be charged
It
with?
would be sexual harassment. It would be assault because if you think about
Because
I think he would.
he
He
comes
still
into
put
her
his hand-
space.
But he
Right.
put his hands
because
on
criminal
her.
assault,
Yeah.
you don't need to touch someone. You just
Yeah,
have to
well,
make
that
them
too, but he
feel
did.
threatened.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, like even if there's no like hand laid on her, it's still assault,
Yeah.
right? And it made her fearful, and it was non-consensual. I
Right.
think
No, it was definitely non-consensual.
Yeah, so I
like
think
she
that
immediately says
right
to him,
there,
absolutely
yes,
not.
I
Well,
think
so the touching is the battery part.
right. The touching's a battery part if we're talking criminal.
Yeah.
And then if we're talking in the civil, like she could sue him for sexual harassment and assault because civilly assault is when you touch someone. So like those are
Well,
basically the
but I
charges
guess-
and the civil claims
I
against
guess
him.
the claim is going to be like
It's
does
sexual
she have-
harassment and
but-
assault.
Yes, but like I guess the damages part is okay. Does she have PTSD? Is she going to therapy over
Right.
this? Like, what are the long term
does she have to prove any of that?
Does she have?
I mean, for criminal, she
I'm talking about for
doesn't,
civil,
but
for
civil,
yeah.
She would have to.
Yeah, she would have to.
She would have to
She
show
would have to prove
damages.
some
So
And then
well, but then maybe you can wrap in there the
Yeah.
fact that she got robbed right after that happened
so
because she got left there.
Because
right?
of the fear that she felt. Like
Yeah.
I feel like there's an argument to be made, and if I were her
Because I don't
lawyer,
know that there's
I'd make
criminal
it.
liability for him because of that, but
No,
maybe
but civil, I would make an argument that because he made her feel so fearful, because he was in the midst of assaulting her,
She put herself into
She-
an even dangerous situation.
she was left into a more dangerous
right, because
situation.
he pulls over into like a fully
In a
empty
bad
parking-
neighborhood.
in a bad neighborhood in a
Crime-ridden
In the
like,
valley.
neighborhood.
in a fully
in the
empty
valley.
parking lot. Where are you? The Valley.
Valley, yeah. And then she gets
robbed at gunpoint.
Yeah,
and
armed
he
robbery.
Says, the guy.
Jenny, show him your shirt.
I got my shirt.
Uh-huh.
And
Get down on the ground.
the gentleman who robs her does say thank you, have a nice night.
He did.
Yeah,
He was very polite.
Wait, I feel like he was someone. That
I don't
actor.
know.
No,
I
I
don't
don't
recognize
know
him.
about that.
But okay, so look, obviously armed robbery.
Armed robbery,
She
that
doesn't
one's-
call the
that one's
police.
very,
She
like,
doesn't
cut and dry
She doesn't do
mugging.
anything. But yes,
Yeah.
very cut and dry mugging.
And then she calls Josh.
she calls Josh.
Yeah, and so that, beautiful.
He saves the day.
And he saves the day. But yeah, up until then, we have a slew of like charges and civil claims against individuals.
Against Elton.
Elton, and then obviously the mugging.
The
is
mugging,
whatever.
right. So can we talk about Josh for a minute? And the whole stepbrother situation or ex-stepbrother situation. There's one part in the movie very early on where Cher's dad says Josh is coming to stay with us or whatever, and she says, "Why, you divorced his mom like years ago? Why does he still have to come around?" And Mel says something very interesting that you and I both caught.
Yeah, you divorce the
You divorce wives, not the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
And
How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
I loved
I actually
that.
loved it.
Oh, really?
I
I
loved it. I wrote it down because I was like, wait, this is so deep.
Yeah.
And I love that they
Dan Hedaya.
but I love that they included that.
Yeah.
Because this movie is never meant to be anything like that. It's never meant to be this sort of like deep commentary on divorced life,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so nice because he's his ex-stepkid.
Yeah, and he was
But he
also-
obviously took a liking to him.
Right.
Sure.
He loves the fact that Josh wants to go into the law, so
Yes.
he kind of sees it like, oh, he wants to do what I do, kind
Yeah.
of a
Right.
thing. And he's loving it, and he lets him do stuff with him. Let's talk about that, shall we?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Litigator Dan Hedaya.
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
So he's working on this big multi-million-dollar lawsuit, and he has Josh, the freshman
He has
in college.
his kids
Yeah.
working on
Yeah,
it.
essentially, he has his kids working on it. Now, Josh, whatever. We're gonna allow it as like it's a
As like a
summer
college intern?
college internship.
I could go for that because he's
Fine.
planning to go to law school.
But a
and-
15-year-old his 15-year-old daughter
is
is like
highlighting transcripts.
and literally reviewing confidential information. This isn't just like I'm working at a law office and getting people coffee. This is I am going through confidential client
Preparing
documents.
exhibits, evidence for the court. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure that I agree with you guys. What makes her different than any other high school intern or college intern helping with
Well,
discovery?
I don't want to be a stickler, but
Yeah,
like,
go on.
is she even like? Does she have working papers? Is she able to be employed? Like, as far as I know, when you're under 16,
So
you can't just work legally.
when I was
Right.
in high
there's
school,
labor laws.
Yeah, labor
Sure,
laws.
I
I actually
mean-
put that down as a note.
when
labor
I
laws.
was in high school, I did an internship for a state senator in Brooklyn, and everyone did. These were internships.
And how old were
through-
you?
I was in high school, and like all
Well, yeah,
years
but
of
how
high
old?
school. Definitely sophomore year, like sophomore, junior year. Like I was for sure 15,
So you could have
16.
been 16.
Yes, I was 100% 16 at some point.
Okay.
So-
I had a job at 16 too.
16, I
That's
think,
okay.
But what I'm
different,
saying
though.
is, I was probably 15 also. I did it sophomore year.
I mean, and I worked off the books at 14
Right,
too, but
just-
that's a different
We
story.
all did it, but it's not. You're not
No,
supposed to.
it was
Right.
school sanctioned. It was through the school. It was an internship.
Okay.
And we worked on like constituents' files and cases, and we helped out.
You worked at a law firm.
No, it was a state senator's office.
Okay.
So,
But constituents' files, how?
like,
why would he have-
had. What do you mean? They had complaints. They had people who lived, down
So
the
what did
block.
you do?
and they had
Like
complaints.
research issues or
Research
like write stuff
issues.
up?
I talked to people on the phone. I took people's information
Right.
down. I took their issues down.
Interesting.
I'm just not sure that I see it as much of a problem. She's just an intern who all she's doing is looking at, like she's just looking
Dates.
for a
it's,
date.
yeah, but it is client documents, and I think the difference is, like, and I actually don't know the legalities of like working at like a senator's office, but like a law office, like the practice of law has like specific ethical like rules about like who can view and what kind of responsibilities you have to maintain confidentiality of client documents.
Every employee of my firm signs a confidentiality agreement.
Right. Like, I
So-
feel like because it's a law firm, because it's legal documents preparing for a litigation, there's like a heightened level of responsibility.
Is your issue or is your distinction between Cher doing it and Josh doing it just that he's older, a few
Well,
years
he's
older?
over 18, and I'm guessing there was like a little bit more of a process, and then like, oh, come sit at the dining table and look at these like documents, honey. It like there was no formal
Yeah, there wasn't
training.
really like a formal thing.
There
It
wasn't
was
a formal
like-
She doesn't
training.
need formal training to go through the. She knows how to
But
read.
you're not allowed to just be like, I'm going to show my kids all of these documents for a
No,
case.
you're
That
not.
is when you're breaking client confidentiality. So how is this any
I
different?
mean, I've never involved my kids are the same.
Right.
Like just as old
Right.
as her, and I've never involved them in highlighting my stuff.
Yeah, you
or
wouldn't be like,
helping me
here,
prep
take
a
a
trial.
look at all these
I mean,
documents.
granted, then the associate throws a fit because he says Cher messed something up. I didn't quite understand that scene because she literally did exactly what Mel told
No,
her to
because she
do.
she's like, I might have put those with
she
this
separated
other
them
date.
out.
She
Yeah.
piled them like differently or
Differently,
something,
right.
So she mixed up like all these other things that she was supposed to. Yeah.
Right.
She did mess up, but I think it's an unauthorized practice of law. I think you have an argument there. I think it's a breach of client confidentiality. You can't just show your teenage kids all these
I
client
guess
documents.
the other question is, so she messes this up, and the associate says this sets us back a full day of work. They have to now spend an extra day effectively redoing whatever.
Yeah, are
Cher
you
did.
going to bill the
Are you
client
gonna bill
that?
the
Are you
client?
rebilling? Like, are you double billing?
And are you telling the client that I'm double billing
because my 15-year-old daughter messed up. Like, I'd be
Right.
upset if also I knew that somebody's 15-year-old daughter had access to my documents and was working on my
Like,
case.
why are you leaving my case?
It's
in
one thing
your
to have a
15-year-old's hands?
college intern, I think, is different than just a 15-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the confidentiality aspect of it is like,
That's what offends you.
yeah, because we actually have like prescribed ethical laws about this in the legal industry. If she was just working at like, I don't know, some other kind of industry, and her dad was like, I don't know, a tailor, like it's one
Here,
thing.
honey, help me with these pants.
Right, like help me with these pants. Like that's one thing.
I mean, we definitely have a heightened scrutiny. You know
Yes.
that.
Yeah, we do.
yeah. Same thing with like medical records. You have certain ethical obligations.
I worked in a medical office when I was 15.
I know, but just because we did it doesn't mean we're supposed to.
But I sat at the front desk. I had access to everyone's files. I was 15. It was the summer between my sophomore and junior year.
Right. I did things like that.
Was that not appropriate?
Yeah, it's not.
You don't think so?
No.
What say you?
I mean, I don't know the ethical rules for like medical
I
professionals,
was very good at my job.
but I know
I'm
that.
sure you were, but did they have you sign any kind of confidentiality?
I don't
agreement
think
or
so.
anything?
I don't
mean,
remember.
I think it's problematic.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know the ethical standards for the medical profession.
I mean,
but I know that
it was
for the
Brooklyn.
legal.
What can I tell you?
I know.
Right. I mean,
I hear you.
everybody. Let's just make this clear. Everybody's kids in the Russian Brooklyn community worked at a medical office. That's just fact.
That is a fact.
That is a fact.
That is a fact.
Does not mean that
That's
it was
interesting.
proper.
I was unaware of that. That's interesting.
Does not mean it was proper. But I also am not familiar with their ethical obligations. I am with lawyers, and you can't do it. You cannot give your kids access to confidential legal documents.
Now,
All right.
let's talk about Dad
Dad, yeah.
and the level of his pride
yeah.
about his daughter.
I know.
Negotiating
And whether
her grades.
or not, are there any issues with her negotiating her grades
I
like
got
that?
a big issue with
Yeah.
it.
Tell me.
I have
Well,
a big
tell
issue
me.
with it. I'm the integrity of the entire grading process right
Well,
now. If
yeah,
you're
but that's
so
not-
easily, but I actually think it's more of an issue on the teacher's end.
Sure.
Like that they're so easily like
Manipulated.
into changing grades.
But that's not a legal issue per se.
Well, or it could be.
I think
Why?
it could
Or
be.
it could be.
I don't know what their contract says for their
But,
employment.
okay.
What the standard is for setting grades. Like it's just I like this one a little bit more, or I feel bad for her.
you don't
because,
think that happens?
I mean,
It does happen. However, there are actual rules about this. Like, okay, so having worked in like education law, where this would come in is another student's parents. If anyone got wind of this, like she's just going around
but let's
getting
be
her
clear,
grades changed.
they all had wind of it because they all benefited
That's
from
right.
what she did, and
They-
they were praising her.
Wait, but
These teachers were in such a good mood that they were just handing out
no,
A's,
but not just
making it
So
rain.
there's a distinction
But there is a
between there's a
distinction.
distinction between her
She's
setting
right.
these guys up and getting them into the relationship,
Getting
and,
them
and
into better moods.
negotiating them to change her grades after the
One-on-one.
fact.
That was
Because
different.
that's
Yeah.
affecting the rest of the class. You're graded on a curve. You are competing with each other to get
If
into
you're
colleges.
graded on a curve, I have
But
a
even
problem.
you are-
I have a problem with it either. First of all, I hate grades on a curve. I think that's
Right.
bullshit. I've always
just
hated
get your
that.
grade and that's
Yeah.
that.
That's it.
But
Your
even
grade is
then,
your
you
grade.
are still
Like,
competing with your classmates to get into college. That's just like a
True.
fact. And
True.
so if
'Cause
I'm
you get ranked.
right,
Sure,
if I'm
sure.
another student, I'm ambular.
Look, and
I
we-
find out that
Oh, Amber was so mad.
Yeah, that Cher gets all her grades changed because she negotiates them after the fact. She didn't earn them. She didn't retake the test. She just negotiated them.
Yeah.
I'm Amber's parents. I am probably going to sue the school at some point and be like, and there are things in their handbook. Like every school has a handbook. And that handbook has become essentially a contract that you can sue for breach of
essentially
contract.
has.
It's a breach of contract.
Think about all the cases that have just come out now with the influencing to get into college. Hello,
Yeah.
famous celebrities did jail time
Yes.
because they were trying to
And
bribe.
Becky did.
Trying to bribe for their kids to get into college
On
and
the
stuff.
rowing team.
So
Right.
it's a huge,
It's a big
huge
deal,
thing
and I
right
can
now.
see. I mean, in the '90s, it wasn't as prevalent, but if that was happening now, other students' parents would be at least threatening a lawsuit or maybe even filing a lawsuit against the school.
But hold on. What you're talking about is different than what Cher was doing. What you're talking about is
True.
that they were like faking photographs of her rowing and bribing. Like people were like just lying all across the board in
to
terms
say
of,
that they were involved in these activities
Yeah,
and things
right.
like that. It was a lot more
and then,
manipulative.
And then there was
I get you.
there was also someone. Wasn't there also someone on the college side who was like taking these bribes
Yes.
and things like that, right? So
Yes.
this is a little bit different.
It is.
And again, they're not manipulating.
All I
like,
mean to say is that it's obviously become a hot button
sure.
topic of
I mean, we had a lot of cases like this.
Yeah.
Like we used to have cases like cheating cases and people like accusing the school of like honestly favoring certain students and then finding a
Yeah.
reason why they were favored, whether it was like, socioeconomic or whatever.
Yeah.
But that
like
happens all the
it happens all the time. And
even
I
in like bullying cases and stuff like that, you've got accusations all the time that like, well, why did this one get suspended and this one didn't?
Right, and
why
you
did this,
compare and
like, why are
contrast.
you attacking my kid and not that one? It happens constantly.
Not everybody at that school is going to be as rich and influential as Cher and her family.
Obviously.
And my argument would be you are favoring these students whose parents are, rich and influential and changing their grades that they didn't earn just to please them, just to make them happy. And my kid suffers because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's an
I
argument.
mean, I think there's definitely a lawsuit.
I think there's a lawsuit. I mean, in the 90s, probably
I
not,
just
but
love
now,
the fact that
yes.
her father was so proud of her.
Oh.
Did you retake the test?
Yeah.
No. Did you do extra credit? No. You mean you just
it's the power of your persuasion.
your persuasion?
And she's sitting in
Oh,
front-
I'm so proud.
I couldn't have been more prouder.
if they were based on real grades.
Yeah.
Okay. So we covered that part of
Yes.
it. Let's talk about Christian.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Let's talk
This is
about
Christian.
Liz.
Okay.
Liz is in my forte. Christians.
Oh, yes.
part,
yes, yes.
yeah.
Right?
I did. Right. I mentioned that I picked up like at the beginning of the movie when they're doing roll call.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they had called his name and Cher volunteers that, I heard that Christian's
Parents.
they're subject of a divorce. So he's spending one semester in Chicago and one semester here.
Yeah.
First of all, love the shout out to the family law. But
Yes.
secondly, who decided that was a good idea?
Well, even Cher
one
herself.
semester in Illinois and one semester in California? What?
And then Cher says it's a travesty on the part of the legal profession.
It is.
And I agree with Cher.
Yeah.
Would you ever
Never in a
do
million
such a
years.
thing? No, this
But
is
clearly
like straight
they
up
What
parent
if the
trap.
student- what if the child wanted
but they're
that?
wealthy. They're
Yes, of
super
course.
wealthy. So
Right.
they've manipulated
So I don't
whatever.
practice family law, and I honestly didn't even pick up on that part until we talked about this before
Yes.
we started filming, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess so. What if what if Christian said, I want equal time with both parents. I want to go back and forth.
Well, here's the thing.
I will say, based on his age,
He
from
could
my
say
point of
something,
view,
right.
'Cause he's a
they would-
teenager.
they would
He's like
take
16.
His opinion into consideration.
And
Okay.
at the end of the day, these parents, with the consideration of their child and the child's wishes, can craft whatever agreement they want.
Right.
So it's not like this agreement is illegal per se or not enforceable.
You can do
No,
a
right?
semester,
I guess
semester,
what I
semester,
would
semester.
question
Sure.
is, how do you coordinate
with
You
the schools.
can't.
credits
And
for him to be able
transfer
to
credits.
graduate
Well, that's
back
like-
and
I mean-
forth? Like, that's the impossibility.
Logistically,
Yeah.
it makes no
He
sense.
could theoretically be homeschooled. And
Okay.
they could under something, and he can live
But
where,
he's
back
obviously
and forth
not.
wherever he wants, but he's not.
I
So
think-
that made no sense.
I
to me.
think logistically speaking, it's very difficult to do, and it probably makes no sense, and we would advise our clients against it. But honestly, if they somehow came up
But a
with some
court
way
could
to do
uphold
it,
it, right?
if that's what they agreed to, right?
Right.
Don't you think? If that's
Yeah.
what they agreed to, I think that
Look, I'm going to throw around one of my favorite legal
Yeah, go
words.
on.
The court does have a parent's patriae obligation to say, hey, you know what? Maybe this is not in the best interest of your
hold
kids.
on a minute.
Right.
Hold on a minute.
And do
If-
they step in and stop them though
No.
if they've agreed to this
No,
plan?
they won't, because if they have a settlement agreement, when
But
we
they
divorce them.
could.
But when we divorce them, the judge, the judge gives their spiel
That
and
they're
the
not
judge-
passing judgment on the agreement.
The judge specifically, again, this is in New Jersey. New York is actually very different. But in New Jersey, the judge gives a very specific spiel that he says or she says, I have not read your agreement. I pass no judgment on the agreement.
On the merits of the agreement.
On the merits of the agreement.
I merely accept your testimony that
You believe it's
find
fair.
it's fair and equitable.
Right.
That's what they say.
And if there
I
are
had no
no
idea.
issues, and if these two people agree, this judge in New Jersey will never read your agreement.
I had no idea.
In New York, it is different. In New
They
York,
read it?
And they go
read
through it like a
and
fine
if
comb?
they don't like it, they will bounce it right back to you and say, that's
it
not
again.
enforceable, fix it.
Wow.
And actually, people get annoyed by it because it's like, what do you care?
What do you
Like,
care? Right.
This is what
That's
we've agreed
interesting.
to.
I did not know
Now,
that.
with that said, let's say they agree to this cockamamie scenario, and
It is cockamamie.
it doesn't work. Like, let's say a year passes and it's just a mess, because it will be. And one parent goes to court and says, listen, we agreed to this a year ago, but it's not
And
working.
it's dumb.
It's dumb. He's flying back and forth every 6 months. His grades suck. He doesn't have any friends. Like,
Right.
whatever the situation is, this needs to change. I think in that point, the judge then does step in.
And say, like, what? I'm going to figure out what's best
I'm going
for
to
you?
let's figure out what's in the best interest of this child.
Okay.
Right? And then potentially does some sort of best interest evaluation and et cetera, et cetera. But I think up until the point where a parent says, this no longer works or this doesn't make sense, I think the judge lets them do it if they both agree. I think if someone proposes this, I think if parent one proposes
But in New York,
it
it wouldn't probably.
I don't
So
think
we don't know
so.
if California is more like New York or
Yeah.
New Jersey, right?
But also, we don't know where
I
they got a
tend to
divorce.
think California is more like
Oh, right,
New
we don't know
Jersey,
where they got.
But
They either got
yeah.
divorced in Illinois or California.
That's
we don't
true.
know. I think that if parent one, while the divorce is ongoing, comes in and proposes this, and parent two is against it, I think parent two wins. Don't you?
Yeah.
If in the course of a divorce, parent two is like, absolutely not. I
Yeah.
don't think a judge allows parent one to do this scenario. I think it's too messy.
If they actually read the terms, I agree.
No, I
Yeah.
think if there's a disagreement between parent one and two.
Yeah. They're like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
This is not in the
I don't
best
think a
interest
judge
of your
allows
kid.
this.
Right. Right.
I don't think so.
This, I learned something. I hope everyone
there
else
you
learned
go.
something.
We are here to teach everyone.
Everyone's learning about new areas of law. Love it. So okay, that's problematic. Okay.
Right.
We didn't touch upon this because there's nothing really to say about this, but obviously a lot of underage drinking,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
drug use.
But again, that's I have
It's everything. So
I have
That's
a
a
note
teen
in that
movie.
too, but it's a teen movie.
teen movie,
Yeah.
but
Name a teen movie where they don't have that.
We'll just note for our
mean,
audience
That's definitely
that that's
happening.
not legal. So underage drinking
I mean,
still illegal.
Look at literally every movie we've got.
Every
I
single
mean,
movie.
Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Every movie from the '80s, all the
Cruel
John Hughes
Intentions,
movies.
Every
Cruel
single movie we've
Intentions.
ever done, besides
Every
like The Parent
movie.
Trap.
Um,
That one was.
they should do an updated version of The Parent Trap.
Yeah, I bet
Speaking
those
of-
twins are alcoholics now because they have to deal with those parents.
Speaking of Parent Trap, but not really, mostly just Lindsay Lohan.
Freaky Friday 2.
Freaky Friday
Freaky
2
Friday,
trailer.
yeah, yeah.
We've got to discuss that at some
And we'll
point.
probably have to like ruin Freaky Friday 1
One.
and then do a second. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Okay.
Anything? Oh, okay. Dangling tie off of
Oh,
the balcony
yeah,
at the
yeah, yeah.
mall.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, that is a slew of legal
crime.
issues. A crime, and people probably don't realize it because it's so
They're just
quick.
having fun.
Oh
And
my god,
again,
they're just like let me go,
They
let
play
me go.
it for laughs.
No, that was messed up.
That was like super messed up. I mean assault, battery. I mean,
You had an interesting take
what
on
was my
it.
take? I don't even remember.
You said maybe
false imprisonment.
imprisonment.
False
Yeah.
imprisonment.
Yeah.
I think it is because when you are restrained against your will in any way, that is false imprisonment. So people think
I mean,
it
she
just means,
clearly was resisting.
yeah,
She
people
was-
think that just means like you're locked in a room.
Yeah.
No, anyone
What
who's
if-
holding you back from moving a way that you want to move is false imprisoning you. Remember that?
what if she fell?
Oh my God.
I'm like, are you kidding?
What if she fell?
Yes.
What would they charge them with?
I mean, does she
Attempted
die?
murder?
Does she die?
I mean, I
Let's
think it
say-
depends.
Murder.
But at a minimum,
Well, is it
attempted
murder?
murder,
Is
Yeah.
it murder or manslaughter or
No, wait.
reckless manslaughter. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like
I don't. It
felony
wasn't,
murder
it
because
wasn't
aren't they-
intentional, but it was
Well-
reckless.
right. But when someone dies as a result of like a felony crime,
What's the felony?
I don't know. I mean, they're for sure charged.
There's something.
They're obviously charged
False
if she
imprisonment.
falls overboard.
That's not a
No,
felony.
No,
that's
it's
not a
not.
felony.
okay, it's not. But it's. I feel like it would be like.
I don't think
mean,
it would
what
be.
level
I don't
of
think it
murder
would
would that be?
I don't think it would be felony assault either. I don't know. I don't know that it would.
Well, they'd be if she's dead, they're going
she's
to jail.
dead, they're
Even
going
if
to
she's
jail.
not dead and she falls, they're going to jail.
oh, for real?
Right?
Oh God, yeah.
Right?
No, yeah. Even
But
if,
then the interesting take I have on that. Who else can you suck into this lawsuit? Forget the
Yeah.
criminal aspects of it. Can you sue them all
For
for their
what?
Yes.
behavior on their premises?
so, I would absolutely sue to the mall.
On what basis?
Well,
Deep pockets?
well, yeah,
that's
but
a great basis.
The argument,
But what do you put in the
the
complaint
argument
part?
becomes that it's unsafe conditions, that they make it too easy for people to fall over that banister, or get pushed over that banister,
Yeah.
and that they didn't have sufficient security in that mall, and that's just an automatic payout. That is settlement immediately.
So when I was an undergrad, our library had an atrium. The library went all the way up to like the 12th floor, and there was an atrium, and there were like balconies
Oh, please
all
don't tell
around.
me somebody fell.
People jumped multiple times, and at one point,
Did anyone die?
yeah, multiple times. There was my sophomore year. There was like a slew, and they would.
The hell kind of law school did you go to, man?
No, it was undergrad.
Ugh.
It was undergrad.
Damn.
And what they did, because I assume that they were probably sued quite a bit, they built these like plexiglass things that went
Barriers?
over barriers
Yeah,
that
yeah,
went
yeah.
over the
That's like the
railings.
what's it called, the vessel or whatever in New York. That thing that looks like a
in Hudson Yards.
Yeah, it looks like a pine cone.
I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
people were jumping.
So did they
And
cover
now
that?
I think I've heard that they've like created some sort of barrier, so you can't do that.
Right.
Ooh.
And
Yeah.
so when you build these things, you're not thinking about it. Although I remember as a freshman, they gave us a tour, and
They're
the
like,
floor,
this is where people jump.
Sort of.
Guys, I'm bummed.
Yeah,
I'm
you're bumming
not
me
doing
out.
this as
In
a-
the
you know what? Let's
Clueless,
move on.
Clueless episode.
Bringing it down.
Anyway, so
As
The-
if.
as if
The point
That
was
was way harsh, Ty. I don't know
the
what
that
you're
point
doing.
was that
I'm outie.
perhaps
outie.
there's an argument to be made that there should have been some sort of
right,
barriers.
so that's like there's
with that said-
insufficient security. Why is no one walking around like
Yes.
monitoring?
But hold on. With that said, as you walk through them all now, 30 years after this
There's
movie,
still no.
you can still fall right
can.
over, be pushed
And
over.
we can still sue.
But
It doesn't
yes,
happen enough
That
that it
they-
has
it- yeah.
changed
Yeah.
the layout of the mall. That does
Yeah.
not mean that a lawsuit wouldn't be successful.
Well,
It doesn't
I'm
mean
gonna
that there
say-
wouldn't be a very quick
And
settlement.
there's definitely going to be some kind of contributory negligence on the part of the actors.
Of
who-
course.
Of course.
Of course.
So of course, but you're.
I'm just
still
saying that the
gonna-
mall's going to bear some
Exactly.
sort of
guys,
liability.
Yeah.
And so it's assault, battery,
We brought this movie down.
reckless endangerment,
big time.
false imprisonment. I think you have a slew of charges and civil claims against these boys.
So yeah, for real.
And then
yeah.
and then you were saying something whether there's defamation.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say.
my
One last thought that I had. Do you think there's any, because you're my defamation expert, is there any defamation claim going on with the kids, the activities, the statements that are being made, people's reputations, even with regards to the teachers? Like, I'm almost like the manipulation that goes on with the teachers, although it did end up happy because they got
They
married.
got
at the end.
married.
And I have a comment about the end, so remind
Yeah.
me.
Yes.
What
So-
do you think about the defamation?
So I thought about this because there is like a lot of rumors. Like when Ty first gets there, and Cher's trying to like elevate her social status, she's like
Yeah.
telling people all about like all-
about the different groups,
right,
and
but
who's what,
and she's also
yeah.
telling everyone like good things about Ty to like elevate her status. So for her statement,
And
to be,
she's flat out lies.
she's
in,
lies
in a
She
lot
lies,
of
yeah.
instances.
But to be
Well, that's not
defamatory,
defamation.
it has to be false and it has to be negative. So like if you're
She's
like
praising her,
she's
right.
an Olympic gymnast,
So she's
that's
lying
not
in a
defamatory.
good way.
Yes, and same thing with when she's like setting up like Miss Geist and like
Mr. Hall.
Mr. Hall, she's telling them like kind of positive things like he said that you looked really good today. Like
Right.
it's a lie, but it's a positive one, so it's not
little white
defamatory. Yeah, but
she gives her a rose. You're gonna find fault in that?
But a lie
It's
that does not
romantic.
damage your reputation, and it has to like
Right.
damage your reputation,
Right.
I
it's not
get
defamatory.
you, but they're manipulating people's feelings. There's a level of ick there to some extent because
Take it up with Jane Austen.
Just so you know, if it had worked out differently and they did not end up together,
imagine,
and
yeah.
it caused one of them like emotional distress, there would be an emotional distress claim.
But let's just say she wasn't receptive to it, right? And she
Okay.
files a complaint against
him.
him for writing that note, leaving her and harassing her in the school, and maybe
gosh.
he ends up getting
Oh
fired.
my God, you've taken it to such a place.
I mean, it could have happened that way.
I mean, that's really interesting.
I was going to liken it to like a matchmaking service, but then I thought to myself,
but you're
it's
both
not.
But you're not lying.
You
Right.
volunteered
So you're
for
saying
a matchmaking
she's
service.
lying to one teacher, but it's a positive statement, but it can be construed as a sexually harassing statement.
That I'm being, a coworker
Pursued.
is coming on to me and I'm uncomfortable now in the workplace. There's a whole sexual harassment in the workplace.
Well, if we're going with like the
And
technical
then
definition,
does the school have any liability to protect their teachers from this kind of behavior?
You've ruined a beautiful moment.
that's what
I
you're
have.
supposed to. That's her job is to ruin it. I mean, if you're taking a technical definition of defamation, then it's a false statement communicated to a third party that results in reputational damages.
I mean,
You can make an argument that's defamatory. You definitely have an emotional distress claim. That's what you
I
would have
suffered
against.
emotional distress when Cher said, "Oh, old people are so cute," and he's 47. That really hurt my soul.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have an emotional distress
Can
claim.
I got PTSD
I
from
think
this movie.
That's
Can
defamatory.
I sue them?
That's
Yeah.
defamatory.
Yeah, I feel like I could.
So I could see that.
It's not defamatory when it's true.
Yeah.
Shut it, you. Okay.
She said that
and
old
in
people
terms
are
of
cute.
what you said before about her, them pointing out all the different social groups and like saying things, and it's like
And the potheads and the losers and the
again-
and those are the only popular kids in school, so you only want to date them, right? She
But
says.
that's not defamatory.
because it's an opinion statement. And to be defamatory, it has to be a factual statement. so to
also-
be like they're losers not defamatory.
But also, potheads is true. They
Right.
are potheads.
Truth is a defense to defamation.
Travis gives it up and he goes
He
through
does
the 12
through the
steps.
12 steps.
I
And
know. And he gave
so
up his
proud of him.
bong.
I'm so proud.
The Pismo Beach.
When she's carrying her skis.
Wait, can we just say one more thing?
Oh, that was fantastic.
the best. She's like-
Daddy, they lost everything. And that does include activities.
Like sports equipment.
Yeah.
Like it's your influence. I love that whole scene. We can't gloss over. There's no legal issue here, I don't think, but like
We'll find
I'm
one.
not a Mexican.
Oi.
What's a big
She
deal?
went there.
What's a big deal?
She's Guatemalan.
No,
right?
no.
Wasn't she?
She's
Ooh,
from
no,
El
I messed it up.
Salvador.
Lucy's from El Salvador.
Salvador, sorry.
Lucy's from El Salvador
Liz.
is
My
bad.
important.
I don't speak Mexican.
No,
I'm
she
not
goes,
a Mexican, is what she says.
yeah, and she's like, "What's the big deal?" Lucy's from El Salvador.
Wait, first of
So
all, she says Mexican, not Spanish. Mexican.
yeah,
But there is an issue there, obviously. And
Is there?
don't you think there
legal
could be a
one?
legal issue?
Which one?
Does Lucy have a claim for,
It's
I
not
don't
defamatory.
know, harassment in the workplace and...
for her saying that she thought that she was from Mexico instead of El Salvador.
I mean, Lucy thinks that it's harassing. Lucy gets offended by
She
it.
gets offended by it, but
Is the question, again, this is probably more
Mm-hmm.
your area, is the question whether Cher made an honest mistake, or is the question that Cher was trying to be
right. So
harassing? Is that
the intent
relevant?
probably matters.
Cher's clueless.
Sure.
That's the name of the movie.
How'd you pick up on that?
I'm just so
I think that would really come down to she just made an honest mistake, and whether or not somebody's offended by it doesn't necessarily mean that it's like falls under harassment.
I guess then the question is, does Cher walk around saying Lucy's a Mexican?
Right.
And after
If
Lucy
she continues to like taunt her with this thing that
Right.
she knows that
now
Lucy's
that
offended
she
by,
knows
Right.
it's untrue,
that would
that's
be harassment,
different.
and that would be
Yeah.
workplace harassment.
Guys, you're just ruining all the
I
best
know.
lines.
Lucy's from El
And now
Salvador.
I'm
I
going
love
to
that.
ruin one more thing because I'm sure that you guys are going to disagree with me. I felt like the end scene of the movie was completely unnecessary.
Why?
What, the wedding?
It was stupid.
Why? It's
What
where
was
they
the
describe
point?
all their perfect wedding.
It
When-
was stupid. There was no
the little
reason
sailor
for it.
hats with, and hers has a veil. I was like, that's
Liz,
genius.
Liz, I don't...
There was zippo reason for that.
We're cutting you off.
Oh
Josh, turn off the mic.
No, can't
I'm
ruin
being
it like that. You
muted.
ruined it with the law.
You can't ruin the actual movie.
The movie is the best. It's just the best. You can't ruin it.
Okay, Diana.
Okay. How many? I don't know. Like
Yellow
Elias
plaid.
do you give this?
Okay.
Elias.
That's expensive.
What is that?
right?
A dress?
It's
Says who?
expensive, right?
Calvin Klein. Love that too.
I feel like such a pauper. I have no idea who Elia is. And clearly, I can't
We'll
afford
tell
it.
you later.
Mm-hmm.
I give it, on a legal scale, I don't know, like a 5?
Yeah.
On
Seems fair.
a entertainment scale.
11,000. Like,
Yes.
I'm gonna plead the fifth.
oh.
Your mic should be turned off by now.
You're gonna join us next time, and we're gonna have two of us here.
Yeah, right.
Two of us. Yeah. So
I'm outie, guys. I'm
I think we did it.
outie.
I hope we sufficiently ruined this movie in a legal sense. I hope you still love this movie as much as
I'm
two of us
sure
do.
you
Yes.
guys do.
Yes, the two of us.
yes.
The third one doesn't like it.
Thank you for joining us.
I felt like I had brain rot after.
No, stop. You know what? I think maybe you just missed the point.
Yeah, I think it's just like,
I don't think that was a point.
No, that is absolutely
watch
not
it
true.
like 50 more times. You'll
It's
get
absolutely,
it. You'll understand.
it's absolutely
It gets better every
a
time.
commentary
On society.
Oh, it's a
On
commentary.
society.
Yeah.
Thank you guys
Thanks,
for joining
guys.
us.
Check us out on Spotify.
On Spotify, on
You're all over the
Instagram,
place
Let's
now.
Ruin It podcast.
and on YouTube if you want
on
to watch
YouTube,
us.
correct. You can see us with our beautiful signage.
And get your friends to follow us.
Yeah, really.
Come on. Spread the word. We're a hot commodity.
Also, give us some
we
ideas for
even got a hot
movies.
sign for you guys. Are you loving this or what? Spread the word.
Feel free to reach out with any suggestions you
Yes,
have for
we
movies
love
we
it.
could ruin. Thank you for joining us.
Yes,
Bye.
see you guys
See you
next
next
time.
time.